Good day, good day. I saw that most people were, or more people watched my Congress Watch stream, or rather the video from it, than people who care to see my gaming. So uh, that's what I'm doing. I'm bringing it back, and I think we're going to try to turn this into a regular deal, where I kind of review the bills that have been introduced and do a little summary for everybody. I'll leave my handy dandy little notebook here. I take my notes. All right, now since this is going to take a solid minute, I'm going to go ahead and just start it off with if you like this kind of content, go ahead and give it a follow. Um, because I know I'm going to forget to say it by the end. But yeah, go ahead and follow if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Right. So this is February 25th, 2021. And the first bill we are looking at is H.R. 696. H.R. 696. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that's right. All right. Okay. Now, this first one, what do I have here in my notes? This is Lloyd Doggett, Texas Democrat. Right, as you can see there. Just go to the text here. Oof. I want it in a different format. I would rather it not be in this long format. I'd much rather the text be smaller, but perhaps you guys would like the text to be larger. But, we'll go ahead and do that. In my notes here, it says to limit the amount of losses a non-corporate taxpayer can claim on their deductions, or can claim deductions on. All right. As you can see here, it's mainly to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to impose limitation on excess business losses of non-corporate taxpayers and to modify the carryback of net operating losses for certain taxable years. Right, so I guess the main thing you kind of take away from this one is that it does not apply to a corporation. Right, it only applies to entities that are not corporations. Right, so they sit here and they say, what they call it, right? The CARES Windfall for the Wealthiest Repeal Act, right? So, oh gosh. In general, the case of any net operating loss arising in a taxable year beginning in December 31st, 2018, and before January 1st, 2021, into which subparagraphs B and C do not apply, such loss shall be a net operating loss carried back to each taxable year preceding the taxable year of such loss, but not to any taxable year beginning before January 1st, 2018. Now, so what that is if you had a certain amount of losses within a year, you can claim deductions on that loss for multiple years. Right? Now, I'm very new to this whole tax law, and any bill that goes into the Internal Revenue Service that deals with the IRS is something that I'm not very well versed in, and they're typically complicated bills because there's already so many laws in place. And so what you read through is just, you see, things are striking this and inserting that, amended by striking and redesignating clauses, redesignating, amending, striking, all that stuff, right? And if I were to go into the laws that these things strike and do that, it would take me way more hours to do a summary on these things for you guys. But, in general, the term specified corporation, right, means with respect to any taxable year, a corporation, the aggregate distributions of which during all taxable years ending after December 31st, 2017, exceed the sum of applicable stock issued of such corporation and 5% of the fair market value of the stock of such corporation as of the last day of the taxable year. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't really understand what that means. All right. All I know is if you know what that means, then there you go. That affects you. Right? I personally, I personally have been up for a solid minute, and I did this right after I woke up, or at least I did the summary of these things right after I woke up. But in general, this is basically what it is. They're just talking about amending the Internal Revenue Service Code with this bill, so that you can't really, have as many deductions here. Right? So, that may affect you a lot. It may affect you not at all. Depends on the individual in that case. Oh, now the next one. HR 701. All right. Now this, introduced by a Republican from North Carolina, Virginia Foxx. Excuse me. In my notes here, it says, to provide for regulation impact review of regulation proposed by agencies. Now, what she's talking about here is there's all those agencies that have been created that, people get appointed to the heads of by your elected officials, right? And they end up serving in those positions longer than your elected officials serve, right? So you elect a president for 4 years. Some of these people are, serving terms of 5 years, right? Or more. And, not every single one of them gets switched out when a new president comes in. And so this bill here, I think I'm pretty happy about this. I kind of like Virginia Foxx now. I don't know who she is, but I'm pretty sure it's a she. But I like it because what it says is that before any agency creates a new regulation, they need to do a study on how that regulation is going to impact the industry or the states or the tribes or the individuals of a community with which that regulation is going to affect. And they have to determine how much it's going to cost people, how many jobs might be lost because of it. It even determines, in the report, she wants them to find out, or at least guess or estimate, how this is going to affect American competitiveness with foreign companies, right? Significant adverse effects on competition, employment, investment, productivity, innovation, public health and safety, or the ability of United States-based enterprises to compete with foreign-based enterprises in domestic and export markets, right? I think that's pretty good. I like that. But that's essentially what she's asking here, is that you're going to have to explain things. And even another nice thing here is that she wants the agency to consult the people that this is going to affect, right? And so, guidelines for program implementation, laws. Hold on, no. Consultation shall take place as early as possible before issuance of a notice of proposed rulemaking. Continue through the final rule stage and be integrated explicitly into the rulemaking process. So I think this is a nice bill. I would like this bill to pass because it really puts agencies in a place where they have to actually sit down with people that they're making rules for and talk to them and get their input. And so, at the very least, it would mean that it would take longer for these agencies to implement new regulations, which I'm all for. It should take a solid amount of time, and there should be plenty of study done, and there should be plenty of work done to determine how regulation is going to affect people, right? Consultation shall address the cumulative impact of regulations on the affected entities. And that's basically what this bill is. So I like this. Virginia Foxx, going up. Of course, I didn't know who she was before this, but going up, right? And so that's effectively what that bill does. I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible because I'm going to have to get around to doing the last bill from yesterday was the American Rescue Plan. And the American Rescue Plan is going to require its own stream all in itself. I'm going to have to sit down and take notes on that because it's huge. The bill of the American Rescue Plan is ginormous, right? So, but I'm trying to do this in a quick manner so that people get a good idea of what's going on, and I'm trying to make it to where it's not like another 2-hour, 20-minute stream. All right, so, oh gosh, what's next? All right, HR 697. This is Lloyd Doggett, the Democrat from Texas again. And here's his Stop Subsidizing Multi-Million-Dollar Corporate Bonuses Act. Now, the government does not subsidize multi-million-dollar corporations. No. Rather, what the case seemed to be, what the case is for the time being, unless this bill gets passed, is corporations that give huge bonuses to their employees are able to use that as a deduction on taxes, right? And that's kind of one of the reasons why corporations do give out large bonuses, so that they can avoid paying taxes on it. And I mean, like, why not? Like, if you can give your employees a ton of money, I mean, your employees are going to be happy. The happier they are, the better the work they're going to do, in my opinion. But, you know, the way he's phrasing it is stop subsidizing multi-million-dollar corporate bonuses, but they don't subsidize anything. Rather, they just want to deny deduction, right? Expand the denial of deduction, right? And this is once again affecting the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as that last one, as the first bill we went over. But that's essentially it. Now, this may not affect you. It certainly doesn't affect me at this time, but you never know. It might in the future, right? Now, it does not necessarily put down any solid numbers, right? Rather, it's one of those things where it's striking subparagraph B, inserting this, amending that, right? And these are just definitions of covered individuals, right? And so they're just amending and striking and inserting. And, you know, we could go back and look at that bill that it affects. But once again, that would take way more time. But that's essentially what he's trying to do here. Is he's just trying to deny corporations from being able to deduct as much money because they've spent that money on large bonuses for their employees. So that's the Democrat. What was his name? Lloyd Doggett out of Texas. Yeah, it's a shame. Well, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the way he phrases it, you know, because you're certainly not subsidizing anything in that respect, Lloyd. Now, the next one is HR 699. Yeah, I'm gonna try to speed through this as fast as I can while still providing all the relevant information. Because I do kind of want to go to bed because I've been up all night. But I did get some solid work done. I wrote a few more scenes for this script that I'm working on. And so, okay, let's take a look at this one. This is Tom Emmer, a Republican out of, I believe that's Minnesota, but that could be Montana. I'm not, extremely well versed in the state's acronyms. I know a good amount of them. Solid amount of them are pretty easy to guess, but a few of them not so much, right? Like, for instance, I saw Lisa Murkowski put a bill up, and it said AK, right? And that's Alaska, but at first I thought Arkansas, right? But I'm learning. I'm learning like everybody else. Now, in my notes, I've got here to reform the mutual fund litigation such that plaintiffs provide proof. Now, at first, I got to admit this kind of rubbed me a weird way, right? But after thinking about it for quite a bit of time, it's really just taking something and putting it where it's supposed to be, in my opinion, right? For instance, in the United States, people are innocent until proven guilty, and that shouldn't be different for the mutual funds. And that's effectively what this bill does. Now, I didn't think, I'm not sure what the case is as of right now, before this bill getting passed. I imagine it would be that, right? I imagine the mutual funds, right? If somebody accuses them of neglecting their fiduciary duty, today is Rebecca Twining Floyd's birthday. Happy birthday, Rebecca Twining. Yeah, she's cool. She's cool. Anyway, as you can see here, right, such security holders shall have the burden of proving a breach of fiduciary duty by clear and convincing evidence. Right now, fiduciary duty, that's just that's the mutual fund's duty to make money for the people who are invested in the mutual fund, right? And so it's just talking about any litigation that's brought up against a mutual fund, right? The plaintiff of the person who brings the suit has the burden of proof placed on them, right? I guess I'm not sure what the case was before. I'm not aware of any cases where people were just accusing mutual funds of not making them money, and I guess stealing all their money that they made. But it puts the burden of proof on the people bringing the suit, which, I mean, innocent until proven guilty. So that's the same for the mutual funds. But I will admit, at first, I didn't know how to feel about this one. Right? But after thinking about it for a little bit, I was like, okay, I just didn't know what fiduciary duty was and all this. But, once again, defendant is innocent until proven guilty in this country. And same goes for the mutual funds. And I guess he's just trying to put it into law there. Now, the next one, HR 695. This is a Democrat bill. Peter DeFazio out of Oregon, I believe. Could be wrong, but pretty sure OR is Oregon. Can't imagine what other state that would be. Now, in my notes here, it says repeal requirement that the USPS prepay future retirement benefits. Now, I wasn't aware that the USPS, and as you can see, all the people who are signed onto this one, right? I don't know, that's like at least half of Congress right there. To repeal the requirement, the United States Postal Service prepay future retirement benefits. So I suppose when somebody retired, the United States Postal Service had to pay all of that up front. I don't know if that was the case, but this is subsection D of section 8909A of Title V, United States Code, is repealed if this bill is passed, right? Once again, these are all bills that have just been introduced in Congress. None of these have passed yet, right? Because the process is a long process. It's a very short bill, right? So, Peter DeFazio, like, all right, man. Like, I guess so. I'm not sure that, if that affects too many people. Of course, that's going to affect the United States Postal Service workers who, I guess, up to this point, have been getting their retirement benefits paid in advance, which honestly, I don't know if I'd be against that, especially if I was a USPS worker. I'd be like, hell yeah, like pay it all to me right now, right? Instead of paying it to me like over time. But I suppose this is a way for the United States government to save money. Instead of paying everything up front, they pay it over time. And if any such employees who are receiving retirement benefits, I suppose, dies early, God forbid, then they don't have to pay that money out. They don't have to pay that money out. So that's that. Doesn't necessarily affect me at this time. Who knows? I may go into the USPS business at some point in time in the future. I mean, I guess you could call it a business. It's a government-ran business. That. Anyway, so the next one is S215. So I believe this was brought forth in the Senate, but has been introduced in the House. Right? So it was brought forth in the Senate by John Tester, right? Senator. Um, MT, I guess Montana, Massachusetts. I don't know. Montana, Minnesota. I don't know. I don't know what state that is. I'm sorry if I'm screwing up your state's acronym. Now this, right in my notes, to require certain tax-exempt organizations to report donor names and addresses. Now, that actually kind of scares me, right? Calling it the Spotlight Act. But I feel like people should, we're talking about privacy. Privacy is a big, important thing here in the United States. But this individual, this Democrat out of MT, John Tester, wants to require tax exempt organizations, and I guess that's going to be like your kind of political campaigns, your charities, your tax exempt organizations, right? So a non-profit organization of some manner. And he wants them to report names and addresses. I mean, like if it was just names, it would be, worrisome enough. But if it's names and addresses, then that's kind of scary, right? Because that just gives, anybody the ability to look up, the names and addresses of people who have donated to a certain cause, right? Or to a certain political campaign, which, I don't think that has any place in the United States. I feel like people should be able to donate to whatever cause, whatever, tax exempt organization, whatever nonprofit they want to. And I mean, I think that includes if you're concerned about George Soros and him donating. Well, I mean, like, I feel like even he should be protected, because if he's protected, then I'm protected. If I'm protected, you're protected, right? We're not going to have our name and address popping up in some politician's office where he's looking, oh, this so-and-so donated $20, right? I guess this person, go after this person, that kind of a thing. And so that's a bill, that's S215, that is pretty concerning. As you can see, not too many people, but Mr. Blumenthal's on there. I know that name. Miss Klobuchar, I know that name. Mr. Booker, I know that name. Miss Warren, I know that name. Well, those are the people who have signed on to this bill. And I'm sorry, but that kind of scares me a little bit. That's concerning. That they want to be able to gain the names and addresses of people who have donated. That's my feelings on the matter. Now, the next one, S217. Right, and this is brought forward by a Democrat out of New Hampshire, Margaret Hassan, NH, pretty sure that's New Hampshire, right? Margaret Wood Hassan, D, New Hampshire, right? Now, in my notes here, it says to provide healthcare services. To provide healthcare services, the addresses associated with the USPS, right? So what this bill does is it will create a situation where the United States Postmaster General the United States Postmaster General, in order to make its electronic address formatting tools available, right, as consistent with terms and conditions of such tools, to healthcare organizations, including hospitals, physician offices, electronic health record vendor, state and local health departments, registries, laboratories, and other organizations, as determined necessary by the Secretary. Now, this is actually kind of concerning because, as you can see here, it says COVID-19 laboratory testing, right? Now, if you have the USPS providing its address tools, which, I feel like everybody almost has access to that, because you can go on to USPS and you can look up like what your address, like full zip code is, that kind of thing. But I suppose it's not the case when it comes to health, like hospitals and stuff like that. But what this to me seems like is you can cross-reference the people with this data, right? You can cross-reference the amount of the people who have been tested and the people who haven't been tested, people who have gotten a vaccine and the people who haven't gotten a vaccine, right? And so through this, if they actually create this collaboration, which is kind of centralizing data in such a point that people in health and related services can look to see who's, you can look at a map kind of and see just like all the people who've gotten these vaccines, all the people who haven't gotten vaccines, right? Or all the people who have been tested, all the people who haven't been tested. Now, some people may think that's, all good, but some people, people who don't necessarily want to get a vaccine, right? If the government ever wanted to come around and force vaccines on people, then they'd know which addresses to go to. And that's concerning. To me, that's concerning, right? And that's kind of what I'm seeing. That's the feeling I'm getting from this one, is that they want to make it easier to locate people who haven't been tested or people who haven't gotten a vaccine. And I mean, this is just for COVID-19. There may be future pandemics in which, they could use this, or who knows, it may not even be used for necessarily like vaccines or testing. It just might be used if they, get DNA kind of in there, then it's even scarier. But I'm not a fan of this bill. This bill seems to create a situation where people can find out who hasn't been tested, who has been tested, rather than collecting the information from who have been tested and saying, oh, so many people in this area have been tested, so many people in this area have gotten vaccines. We don't know exactly which people from where, but that's kind of what that is. That's just a quick summary of that and how I feel about it. Now the next one, S219. Oh boy. Now this is Democrat, Nevada, Catherine Cortez Masto. I'm sorry, that's being supposed to be pronounced another way. Maybe it's just Catherine Cortez. But that's out of Nevada. What do I got here in my notes? To increase COVID payments for veterans to 125%. Right? So the payments that the government's going to be putting out here, and in particular with the American Rescue Plan, which, funny they call it the American Rescue Plan. The American people can rescue themselves, but you just let them work and stuff. But, anyway, so to increase COVID payments that go to veterans, 125%, which I don't think is too bad, right? As you can see, it's a short bill. And it's just kind of talking about the covered period, which is, for as long as this COVID-19 pandemic goes on, and I guess 60 days after the last day of the emergency period, just shall apply to each of the following provisions, just a substituting for each of the dollar amounts in such provisions, the amount equal to 125% of the dollar amount. So that's that. Just wants to pay veterans 125%, which, as long as they're handing out money like that, then, I know the veterans got it pretty bad for quite some time there. And so, like, heck, why not, right? As long as they're doing it, it's being done. Unless you're against the whole, government handing out money thing, which a lot of people are, right? Of course, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, let's vote in people that are just going to give us money. There's other people are like, yeah, this is going to kind of destroy our currency. And hopefully our currency can handle it. Fortunately, there is a lot of demand for the U.S. dollar around the world. But, we can get into that whole thing another time. I'm sure we will. Now, the next one. S222. Democrat, New Jersey, Cory Booker. Cory Booker. Oh, golly. Now, this is to establish the American Opportunity Fund and accounts for Americans living below or within the poverty line. Right now, it's not just Americans living below or within the poverty line either. What this does is it basically establishes a whole new. Now, in the bill, as you can see, it's kind of a long bill. In the bill, it's like this isn't taking the place of Social Security or anything like that. It's just basically the same thing as Social Security, except the main difference here is that you work and taxes are taken out of your paycheck and it goes into your Social Security account. Here, you're born and automatically $1,000 goes into your American Opportunity Fund. All right. Now, this isn't just for everyone who's alive now. This is right born after December 31st, 2021. Upon receipt of a certification under section with respect to an individual born after December 31st, 2021, the Secretary shall transfer $1,000 into the American Opportunity account of the individual. Right? And now annual contributions, right? Each year which occurs after the year in which the account is established for an individual before the eligible attains the age of 18, the Secretary shall transfer the annual contribution amount to the American Opportunity account of the individual. It says eligible individual. That's where kind of like the poverty line comes in, and that's what this chart is, right? In the case of household income, expressed as a percent of the poverty line within the following income tier, right? And the poverty line is like 100% of the poverty line is, I think you're making like, it's either 20, it depends on the amount of people in your family, but I think it's 27,000 a year. It may be 12,000 a year for just like a single individual, I think, but I think if it's two individuals, then it's 27,000 a year. And there's a section in here that talks about this. Oh, until the guy gets, or the person, the individual attains the age of 18. There is a section in here that handles that such that you can receive beyond the age of 18, right? So the older you get, like, you're like, you apply or whatever your situation is, they'll keep putting the money into your American Opportunity Fund. And there's a lot of talk in here about investing, about like how it's an investment, right? Like to invest under Section 6, right? Like apparently this money is supposed to be for people to invest, right? And what's interesting up here is like amounts held by fund. The American Opportunity Fund consists of the sum of all amounts paid into the fund under this title, right? Just being paid into it for people born, increased by the total net earnings from investments of sums held in the fund, or reduced by the total net losses from investments of sums held in the fund. Now, I'm not sure how that's supposed to work in a positive way, right? It seems like the government's going to be just putting money into this fund, and then the person who has the account turns 18. It's not like they're taking that money out and investing it, or it's not like they're taking the money that's there and investing it through like a broker or anything like that, and then the money that they make kind of gets paid back into it. I mean, that's not the case. It's more like the money seems to be put in there, right? And then people are just going to be taking out of it, right? There doesn't seem to be anything in this where it's like, okay, like they're going to invest this money in something, right? Or the only way they can get this money is if they, apply for it to be invested in something, right? This isn't going to affect your college savings accounts. It's not going to affect your Social Security account. It's going to be just a whole new account. And I think it's interesting that he acts like there's going to be any total net earnings. Like there's going to be any net earnings. I mean, I don't think there's going to be any net earnings from this. I can't see how there's supposed to be net earnings from this. The only way this fund is going to increase in value is more people are born and more money is put into it by the government for those individuals who are going to be taking it out. But as you can see here, this is kind of the initial amount that is to be put into your fund, up to 100%, 100% up to 125%. And this is to the poverty line, right? So if you're between 100% of the poverty line and 125% of the poverty line in terms of your household income, then it's going to deduct the amount that's going to be put into your fund, right, by $500. You see, like, it's like, oh, this is the initial amount that's being put in, right? If you're up to, like, below the poverty line, then you're going to be getting $2,000. 125% of the poverty line, $1,500, and so on, like 1,500, 250, 325% to up to 500% of the poverty line, you're getting nothing. 500% or more, you're getting nothing, right? And so effectively, I fear that this is going to incentivize certain individuals, maybe not all the individuals, but certain individuals, to stay below the poverty line and just live as cheaply as possible. But, at the same time, there are going to be people who aren't going to want to live like that, who are going to, work on something. They'll come up with something. They'll invent something. And they'll get out from beneath that poverty line. At least, there's not going to be tons of those people, but, there'll be some, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's basically what Cory Booker's got in mind here. I think it's interesting that, like, not too many people signed on to this. Of course, you got Mr. Schumer, Miss Gillibrand. I know those. Mr. Schatz. That's funny. Miss Warren, Mr. Sanders, Miss Klobuchar. These are the people that have signed on to it. Honestly, I kind of hope this goes nowhere. This seems like a universal kind of income thing, or it seems like they're really trying to take the place of, like, I mean, I don't want to say parents, but this just seems like you're creating quite the welfare state with this, in my opinion. And I just fear that it's going to incentivize people to not do anything, not work, not be part of the system or anything like that, and just collect their $2,000 a year, until they're 18. Which people can work. I started working when I was like 15. Like when I got my first job, I was 15. But before that, I just kind of worked around the house and stuff like that. Well, yeah, I think I invested kind of early, or I had my dad set up a Scottrade account for me, which I then took the money that I got from working as a lifeguard, and I kind of did that whole thing. But then 2008 hit, so lucky me. But yeah, that's what this bill is. The American Opportunity Fund is what he's calling it, and I mean, it's, as you can see, it's just going to affect people. It's mostly going to affect people that live below or within. And what's interesting is it's actually kind of well within the poverty line, because even if you're 225%, like double to triple the amount of the federal poverty line, right? So that's going to be like, if it's 12,000 and you're just an individual, then you're looking at 36,000, right, that you make a year just doing your normal job. You're still going to be getting $250 a year into your American Opportunity Fund if this bill passes. But yeah, that's Cory Booker and what he's got on the books for everybody. Now, the next one, S218. Right. In my notes here, it says 2 million. So 2 million has been appropriated or is being asked to be appropriated for this bill. This is a Republican out of South Dakota by the name of John Thune. Right, Thune, John Thune. I can't read my own handwriting. And to approve use of biofuels. Now, what's funny about this one is it states in here that it's if at least one state has accepted the biofuel as a means of as a means of transportation fuel, then it shall be accepted, right, on a federal level, right? However, if no states have accepted it as a potential transportation fuel, this biofuel, then that's okay. Federal government will still take care of it, right? As you can see here, if not less than one state has approved the sale of the fuel produced using the process described in the application and a program designed to reduce the carbon intensity of transportation fuel, they will accept it. If in a case in which no state has approved the sale of the fuel, that's all right. The administrator shall take final action on the application. All right, they can accept, deny, do whatever, but chances are they're going to accept it because how many people are out there making biofuels? Right, I'm only aware of some very large, very, very, very wealthy individuals who have started to make biofuel companies, and I only became aware of that from Michael Moore's latest documentary, Planet of the Humans. I don't know if it's his latest one. I don't know if he's come out with any more after that, but it's actually a very good, well done documentary, and that's coming from a Texan. All right, so it's actually fairly decent because they do their work in there. They do their work. It's mainly about how the manufacture of green energy and biofuels and stuff like this is actually worse for the environment than just burning coal because of the processes, the very toxic processes in order to process the metal and materials used in this stuff. And I mean, the solar panels and the wind turbines break down very quickly. They don't last very long as compared to just burning coal and doing all this other stuff. It's a very good documentary. Last I checked, or when I watched it, it was free to watch online. So give it a watch. It's not terribly long. It's actually very well done. Now, the next one, and that's pretty much all there is to this. Oh yeah, appropriated $2 million because they need $2 million in order to, I guess, pay somebody to accept biofuels for sale. Like, I don't know. I don't know why it costs them money to do that. But anyway, next one is S49. Oh man, I'm tired. I'm sleepy. But I enjoy this. And something I think is very nice. Now, this is the United States-Cuba Trade Act of 2021. Now, what this does is it just repeals the embargo. Right? So, who we got here? We got Democrat out of Oregon, Ron Wyden, to repeal the Cuba trade embargo. And, well, I've got in my notes here, and try the same failed approach to China. That's what I've got in my notes, right? Because that's kind of what he says, right? The main thing is to to lift the trade embargo on Cuba and for other purposes. Now, what made me kind of say the same failed approach to China was, there's a section here, and a lot of this is, striking this, amending that, inserting this, doing that, that kind of a thing. Let me find his exact phrase. Now, what's interesting, I didn't find it, but this is an interesting section where it talks about telecommunications equipment and facilities, right? So any common carrier, as defined in Section 3 of the Communications Act of 1934, is authorized to install, maintain, and repair telecommunications equipment and facilities in Cuba, and otherwise provide telecommunications services between the United States and Cuba. Right? I think it's very interesting how this bill seems to kind of single out telecommunications equipment and facilities. I mean, travel is something you would think would be, kind of in this embargo because that kind of affected, that's a big part of the embargo. But telecommunications equipment and facilities, I guess they want to make sure that Cuba gets CNN or something like that. I don't know. Self-service, they want to basically do that. I feel like they're kind of just doing this for Silicon Valley in that respect. Negotiations with Cuba. Right. This is actually not too shabby of a sentence right here. I'm not going to lie. For the purpose of settling claims of nationals of the United States against the government of Cuba for the taking of property by such government. Right. So what's interesting here is it's talking about the president of the United States should take all necessary steps to advance negotiations with the government of Cuba in order to, I guess, mediate a situation in which, like, the government of Cuba took this property from these individuals. These individuals fled Cuba to the United States, and if we're going to, normalize relations with Cuba, then we should probably address the property that was taken from these nationals by the Cuban government. And, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say good luck on that one, because I don't think you're going to get that property back. For the purpose of securing the protection of internationally recognized human rights, not bad, but really that's just the only two things in here that I found to be of any decency in terms of, from a reality standpoint, I guess. Now, once again, good luck achieving that. More power to you. But I don't really think that's going to work out. Now, okay. In general, the United States should promote democratic change and economic reform by normalizing trade relations with Cuba. Now, that is what caused me to put in my notes, try the same failed approach with China. Because that's what we did. That was the idea. Oh, we got to, normalize trade relations with them, and they'll come into the fold. Nah, right? Because the reality of the situation is if you reward somebody, right, then they've got no reason to change. They've got no incentive to change, right? Like, that's kind of like staying in an abusive relationship and being like, well, maybe if I just, sexually please my partner who's abusive more, then they won't be as abusive. Like, no, you're sending the wrong message, right? Whether, you're consciously picking up on it or not, whether they're the abusive partner of the relationship is picking up on it or not consciously, right? Because you're rewarding kind of bad behavior. And the only way we can actually bring about any kind of democratic change and economic reform is by not rewarding the bad behavior. But, whatever. I feel like they know that to be true. In the case of China, as we've seen, like, a lot of people have just kind of end up being bribed, and China's just kind of taking advantage of the situation. And I mean, we just can't do that. It doesn't work that way. Like, just reality doesn't work that way, right? Your dog bites you, you don't give it a treat, right? Your cat scratches you up or takes a piss on your bed, you don't, oh, good kitty. Like, you don't do that. Like, oh, good dog. Yeah, no. That's just not how it's done. That's just not how it's done. And so that's effectively what this is, right? Most of it's just termination of the tariffs, termination of, like, the things that we've kind of done in order to pressure them into making change. And so, just kind of rewarding them for doing nothing except, continuing to be the same, bad government that we'd rather not be doing business with. But, that's me, right? Democracy's a bitch sometimes, right? It's just fucking crazy. Now, let me see. The next one. to 23. Right? This is Mr. Ron Wyden, again, out of Oregon, Democrat. Invest in Child Safety Act. All right. Now, this is to establish an executive office of child sexual exploitation. And there's a ton of money that's going into it, as well as $5 billion for a new fund. Right? Like, this is to establish the office to enforce and protect against child sexual exploitation. And this is to be an office under the executive branch, which, here, just so you guys, just so you guys know, let me pull up a picture of current president. Hold on. let me just yeah, okay. Yeah. Right. Let me just bring this over here. Right, okay. This is the guy who's going to be in charge of selecting the dude in charge of the office to enforce and protect children from sexual exploitation. Now, granted, this guy can only serve 2 terms. Maximum 2 terms is all he can serve. I don't know. But, I mean, that's going to be, 2 terms of, take a wild guess. So, I mean, like, while, yeah, I'm all for, protecting children from sexual exploitation, do I trust this guy to do that effectively? No, I kind of trust him to do the exact opposite. That's me, though. That's just me. Now, okay. So, creating the office, right? Now, they're going to strategize. They can come up with strategies. They're going to gain reports. They're going to collect data. They're going to do all this stuff that an office would do. All right. Now, let's get down to the... they're going to have, no less than 120 prosecutors. Where's that paragraph? No less than 120 prosecutors that are going to serve this office. Right. Now, this you read this bill, it's like, okay, the director shall be appointed for a term of 5 years, right? That's, somebody who's going to be appointed by the president, right? The office shall be headed by a director who shall be appointed by the president, right? The guy who sniffs children. Right, that's who's gonna pick the guy to run the office of to enforce and protect against child sexual exploitation. Okay. Blah blah blah. Let's see. Now, yeah, this is all the information they want to bring in. The number and nature of investigations conducted relating to. So they want to know how many investigations are going on concerning this. They want to know the nature of arrests concerning this, ongoing prosecutions, how many prosecutions by judicial district. They want all this information. Now, do I trust them with this information? I personally don't. I don't trust Biden with it. Right? I don't trust the guy he's going to pick for it. Because, I mean, heck... from what I've just kind of seen on the global stage, what was it? The head of the UN is a guy appointed by China. And apparently this guy is from Ethiopia, where he effectively oversaw the cover-up of a pandemic in that area. And so people tend to be picking the people who are the exact, opposite. They're the worst person for the job. You couldn't pick a worse person for the job. And so, let's just see what happens with this. I mean, poor kids. That's all I can say. But yes, anyway. So, in general, to the Department of Justice, $100 million for child sexual exploitation prosecutions by the offices of the United States Attorney. All right. To the Department of Justice, $15 million for a grant by the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. All right. internet crimes to the Department of Justice. 60 million for grants to states for activities relating to internet crimes against children task forces. Right now, all this money going out, like I'm sure most of the people this is going to be going to is good and all, but when the people at the top are people that I personally would not trust, maybe you guys trust, maybe you got good reason to trust, but I think you understand my reasons for not trusting. People at the top, they kind of hold too much sway in certain situations like this. Street outreach program, 16 million for the street outreach program. Now, 5 million for a grant to the National Criminal Justice Training Center. That's for training people. 16 million for the street outreach. 60 million for the internet activities. I mean, it's just curious the amount of money they think is needed in places, right? Like, why so much for the internet and not so much for the street? Which I'd say most of the stuff, particularly the worst stuff, is going on in the streets. And don't ask me. I don't know. But these are just funds to be provided for all this stuff, which I'm all for. The protection of children. Right? The people who are putting this stuff forward, the people who are going to be in charge of it at the start, are not people that I, once again, I could say it 1,000 times. You know how I feel. Anyway, the Secretary of the Treasury shall transfer. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me start over with this. In general, there is established in the Treasury a fund to be known as the Child Sexual Exploitation Treatment, Support, and Prevention Fund. Right? And the Secretary of the Treasury shall transfer to the fund from the general fund of the Treasury $5 billion for fiscal year 2021 to remain available through September 30th, 2030. Right? Now, I guess $5 billion for a 9-year period makes sense from a government standpoint. But honestly, I'd like to know how many. I mean, I guess there's probably millions, maybe. Oh, damn, millions would be a terrible number. I mean, thousands, at least thousands, right, of children kind of being exploited in this manner. And $5 billion kind of shows that they think it's a huge issue, and they want the data and the information. But I mean, just from a monetary perspective, he's like, oh, no amount of money is too much to do this. I mean, like, well, yeah, but at the same time, $5 billion is a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and I don't know if it's going to be, necessarily used all for, a good cause. All right, because I mean, it's the government. Like, the government's not really the best at it. Excuse me. Anyway, that's kind of that whole thing. Modernizing the cyber tip line. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's that. And I mean, like, as you can see, just millions, billions of dollars for this whole new office. And Biden's gonna be the guy if this bill passes. Biden's going to be the guy who picks the dude in charge of all this. And, you make up your own minds. You can go ahead and Google your own Biden sniffing children pictures. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just amazing. Fucking incredible. Yeah, all right. So the next one is S263. Right, okay. Now, what have I got here? I got Democrat, Illinois, Richard Durbin, right? Now, in my notes here, it says to force health insurance. Okay, that's pretty broad. They're not forcing health insurance on anybody, but Worker Health Coverage Protection Act. What this does is, if, I don't know what COBRA is. I looked up COBRA. It seems to be a health insurance I guess, company or health insurance plan. I guess it's provided by the government, because I don't know why they would just be talking about COBRA. But the main thing you can take away from this, as it's a super long bill, but the main takeaway for me is, in the case of a premium for a period of coverage during the period beginning on March 1st, 2020, and ending on September 30th, 2021, for COBRA continuation coverage with respect to any assistance eligible individual described in paragraph whatever, such individual shall be treated for purposes of any COBRA continuation provision as having paid the amount of such premium if such individual pays 0% of the amount of such premium owed by such individual. Right? So if you've paid 0% of the premium, you shall be treated as if you have paid the premium. Right? They will not lose coverage. So the thing here is that COBRA, which I'm assuming is a government-provided healthcare insurance plan, you don't have to pay your premium, and you'll still be covered. Now, I'm thinking the premium, I don't know, I Googled it at some point. They're like, oh, as low as $9, that's something. I'm sure that, fluctuates. But, yeah, I mean, my healthcare insurance is just walking around outside, getting plenty of sleep, drinking plenty of water, and doing a few push-ups every now and again. But I'm still young, so maybe I'll need it in the future. Yeah, I mean, I try not to break any bones, but sometimes it happens. Now, yeah, this is a super long thing. It's a lot of stuff in there. I was not about to go through the whole thing and pick out all the little snippets, right, on this one. I really wasn't. But, if this affects you, then, by all means, you can go in and take a deeper look. As far as I can take away from it is you don't have to pay your premium on your COBRA health insurance. You can just be treated as if you had paid it, and you'll still be insured. So the next one, S238, Democrat out of CT, guessing that's Connecticut. Can't imagine what other state that could possibly be. Honestly, couldn't possibly be any other state. I'm pretty sure I know all 50 states and such and territories and whatnot. Christopher Murphy. Right? Yeah, Christopher Murphy. Democrat out of Connecticut. In my notes here, it says to provide athletes the right to monetize their name, image, likeness, and athletic reputation. Now this one, I actually don't mind, because apparently, college and high school athletes who would get deals and stuff couldn't make any money off of it, right? Rather, the college sports team kind of got the money, right? Or the universities got the money in those cases, which is kind of messed up, right? So Christopher Murphy, not too shabby, I'd say, but this is to establish name, image, likeness, and athletic reputation rights for college athletes and for other purposes. I guess it's not necessarily for high school athletes, but once again, they probably weren't running into this problem in high school. And at the same time, there really aren't, in my opinion, as to my knowledge, aren't too many deals going to high school students for shoe deals, t-shirt deals, that kind of stuff, right? Like poster deals and stuff like that, right? That's the kind of stuff starts at the college level and then it goes to the professional level. And the professional athletes like the NFL and those kind of things, NBA, MLB, whatever heck sport you're into, the professionals, they get to do that, right? But the college athletes haven't. Right. And so now this would give them the right to do that, which I think is, not too shabby. I'm about it. Um, Now, College Athlete Economic Freedom Act. That's just what this can be cited as. And it's very basic, right? Just kind of starts off with definitions, right? We don't really care about definitions unless we need to go back and, really define, really figure out what something is. But, just athletes' rights to market name, image, likeness, and athletic reputation, right? In general, an institution of higher education or intercollegiate athletic association may not enact or enforce any rule, requirement, standard, or other limitation that prevents college athletes or prospective college athletes, individually or as a group, from marketing the use of their names, images, likenesses, and athletic reputations. Now, I'm not sure, or as a group part. I mean, that'd be like a team, right? And I feel like if you were on a team and they were doing it for the whole team, and that team played for the university, then it should probably be the university's kind of thing, because the university kind of spent the money on giving these kids the scholarships in order to entice them to come play on their team. And so I think maybe as a team that'd be all right, but individually I think that's fantastic. But or group, I don't know how that's going to work out. Are they going to unionize? Something like that? Only going to be in that union. I mean, that kind of thing. Group licensing. A third party may not use the name, image, likeness, or athletic reputation of any member of a group of college athletes to market any product unless the third party obtains a license from the group for that purpose. I mean, if you're doing a group thing, then, that sounds about right. Right? But yes, effectively what this is. So, I actually wouldn't mind seeing this one passed. Now, on to the next one. There's a lot of stuff in here from the Senate. That's why this stuff starts with S right here. Aha, Kirsten Gillibrand. We know that name. 248. S248. Right. Now, what have I got in my notes here? Establish the Office of Paid Family and Medical Leave. So in the last stream, there was a bill that was introduced that we looked at where it provided paid family and medical leave for federal employees. This one literally creates an office, right, to provide paid family and medical leave benefits to certain individuals and for other purposes, right? Now we go past the definitions. And the very first thing you see here is establishment of office. There is established within the Social Security Administration an office to be known as the Office of Paid Family and Medical Leave. The office shall be headed by a deputy commissioner who shall be appointed by the commissioner. All right, I guess the commissioner is appointed by the president, I guess. I really don't know. But that commissioner is now going to appoint somebody. Excuse me. So it just seems to be like this hierarchy of appointment. And, so far as I've seen, there's not really any term limits for these guys. But yeah, I really didn't get too far into this one. I'm not going to lie. I saw this establishment of this office, and I was like, oh, God. But I think the main kind of takeaway here, which I actually did read through, there's a paragraph in here where, is that this one? Wait, no, that might be the next one. Yeah, actually, no, it is the next one. Oh, wait, no, that's two more. That's two away. Yeah, so I basically saw that, and I was like, okay, that's all I kind of need to know is that they established an office of paid family and medical leave. And I suppose they're trying to force people to do this. Gosh, I really don't know. I saw this, and I was just like, oh, shit. Burden of proof, an application for benefits under this section, and a monthly benefit claim report of an individual shall each be presumed to be true and accurate unless the commissioner demonstrates by a preponderance of the evidence that information contained in the application is false. The commissioner, right? How many people do you like? Just I mean, that kind of gives you an idea of where this headed, right? The application for benefits shall be presumed to be true and accurate unless somebody demonstrates it is to be false, right? Now, I guess once again, it's one of those situations where like you're proven or you're innocent until proven guilty, right? As it should be. But how many people are going to be applying for this, and how much fraud is going to occur? How many people are just not going to be showing up to work, right? Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. This doesn't seem to be dealing with the federal employees like the bill from yesterday, right? Because in general, every individual, right, is insured for disability insurance benefits of the Social Security Act at the time such individual application is filed, right? Has earned income from employment during the 12 months prior to filing the application, right? Has filed an application for a family medical leave insurance benefit in accordance with subsection D, right? Was engaged in qualified caregiving or anticipates being so engaged during the period that begins 90 days before the date on which such application is filed. This is just really broad, and it does not seem to be just federal employees. It seems to be literally anybody, right? And so if this bill passes, then, there you go. You can do that. You can do this. It's a huge bill. If you're interested in seeing more about the details and looking at the loopholes so that you can I'm sorry, what is this? The establishment of Family and Medical Leave Insurance Trust Fund. Yeah, so, if you want to game the system as it's trying to be gamed, this is S248. You can find it in congress.gov. You can look at all the little loopholes they got in here. Because, I've got a belief in in American law, and so far it seems to be true that nothing's completely illegal. There's a loophole for everything, and that includes doing cocaine. And I actually found the loophole for doing cocaine. You just have to be conducting research on cocaine, right? They got this whole thing in the Drug Enforcement Agency where you can just apply as somebody who, you can literally buy your cocaine from them for your research purposes. Right? You could buy your weed from them. They have a place where you could purchase. Now, it's not necessarily from them directly. It's more like people who make it are like, yo, we make this. And they're like, okay, these people make it. And then there's these people that are like, hey, we want to buy this. And so they're more like a middleman, right? The DEA is more like a middleman just so they know, like, okay, who's getting the cocaine? How much cocaine are they getting? How often are they getting the cocaine? Like, that's all we want to know. And it's just like, yo, this is for some research purposes, man. Let me get some coke. It's legal. You can do it. There's just a loophole that you have to find and exploit. And that's my belief in the system, which so far I'm proven wrong. I mean, well, no, I haven't been proven wrong. There is hereby created on the books of the Treasury of the United States a trust fund to be known as the Federal Family and Medical Leave Insurance Trust Fund. So is this just for federal? The Federal Family and Medical Leave Insurance Trust Fund shall consist of such gifts and bequests as may be made as possible. So maybe this has got something to do. Okay, hold on. In general, there's authorized to be appropriated to the Federal Family and Medical Leave Insurance Trust Fund out of monies in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated. So maybe this is just for federal employees, because honestly, I couldn't see how they could do this on a nationwide scale in terms of making everybody like have to pay for it, because not every employer can afford benefits like that. Not every industry can afford that kind of stuff. In general, in addition to other taxes, there is hereby imposed on the income of every individual a tax equal to the applicable percentage of the wages received by the individual with respect to employment. This is okay. For purposes of paragraph 1, the term applicable percentage means 0.2% in the case of wages received in any calendar year. Okay, so this actually does affect everybody. See, I really didn't get into it because as soon as I saw another office being established, I was like, oh my gosh, why are they establishing all these offices? Yeah, so everybody, you're going to get taxed an additional 0.2% of your wages so that they can pay for people's family medical leave. I guess federal, is it just federal employees or is it everybody? Oh man, I wish I drank alcohol. I mean, I do drink alcohol, but I'm not like a big drinker. I'm more of a smoker, which I don't know which one's better. I'd say smoking, but it has its downside too. Yeah, okay, that's Kirsten Gillibrand out of New York. Thank you very much for your work, Kirsten. Thank you. Thank you for the tax. Thank you for the tax. There you go. That's what we need. More taxes. Taxes so that people can not work. I mean, family medical leave, right? Yeah, okay. Well, yeah. All right, that's that. It's depressing. That depresses me. I'm sorry. The next one is S253. Dianne Feinstein. Our favorite girl out of California. Actually, she's not our favorite. Nancy Pelosi is our favorite girl out of California, isn't she? Democrat, of course. California, Dianne Feinstein. Now, this one's actually, I can't hate her on this one. As you can see, it says cannabidol, and Marijuana Research Expansion Act. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's spelled with a J. That sounds like an H because like marijuana is initially like Mexican tobacco, right? That's what it started out as, and so I mean, I spell it with a J. She spells it with an H. It's the same thing legally. It's cannabis. It's all cannabis, right? To expand research on the cannabidol and marijuana, right? I'm telling you, this research, they already had this. This was already a thing, right? Through the DEA, you could already apply to buy weed from somebody for purposes of conducting research. You could already do that, right? Now, I don't know why she's expanding it. Well, actually, no, I do know why she's expanding it. There is a section in here where it's, in my notes, I've got weed research / consumption, right? Like commercial consumption, right? Oh, where are we at? This is a long one. Like, why you gotta do this to me, man? Definitions, we can skip definitions. Research applications, a lot of striking, a lot of amending, a lot of inserting. Blah 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 blah. Hold on. Where's my commercial use here? Research protocols, applications to manufacture marijuana for research. No, because there's a part in here. Right, as you can see, it's just striking and inserting, striking and inserting, inserting and striking. A lot of amending there. Adequate and uninterrupted supply. That's section 104. On an annual basis, the Attorney General shall assess whether there is an adequate and uninterrupted supply of marijuana, including of specific strains for research purposes. I really need that Maui Wowie, guys. Make sure my supply is not uninterrupted here. Right. Hold on, where are we at? Is this it? No, that's not it. Oh, that's the Controlled Substances Act. That's the the act that has this thing labeled, but it's interesting because there was that called the MORE Act that was passed through Congress. That was historic, right? Where it basically just made the production of weed, like it took it off the controlled substances like table that they got there. So this whole thing, I guess maybe it didn't get anywhere in the Senate. I don't know where it's at. It passed the House. It's supposed to have gone on to the Senate, but I can't find anywhere in the Senate like website where that's happening. Maybe I need to find it here, but all I can find here is that it's passed the House and it's supposed to be going to the Senate, but I guess the Senate's probably just been too busy, with everything that's been going on for the past few months, really. It's a few months. All right, but here's the paragraph I was looking for, right? Notwithstanding any provision of the Controlled Substances Act, the Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Communities Act, Chapter 81 of Title 41 United States Code, or any other federal law, an appropriately registered covered institution of higher education, a practitioner, or a manufacturer may manufacture, distribute, dispense, or possess marijuana or cannabis. I'm just going to say cannabis. Fuck that word. If the marijuana or cannabis is manufactured, distributed, dispensed, or possessed, respectively, for purposes of medical research, for drug development, or subsequent commercial production in accordance with Section 202. Right? The Attorney General shall register an applicant to manufacture or distribute cannabis or marijuana for the purpose of commercial production. Right? Now, this I do not believe means like when it says commercial production, and that's just kind of like everybody get in on that. At least maybe just commercial production means just large scale is maybe what it means. Hold on. Federal research. Oh boy. Well, yeah. Okay. That's kind of it. It's just research. But for me, I guess I read the commercial production part. But I could have sworn there was a commercial consumption part in here. I could have sworn. But anyway, it's just Dianne Feinstein, saying like, yo, let's get some more research on this stuff going and make sure the supply is not interrupted. Which, I kind of joke, but that's kind of what it is. She's California. I mean, it's already legal out there, right? It's already recreational out there. So I'm not sure what she's doing if it, with this bill necessarily, if it wasn't, making it even more commercially available. Which, yeah, I really don't understand. Okay, now anyway, the next one. S220. In my notes here, excuse me. $800 million, Republican, Lisa Murkowski, Alaska. Now, all right, Lisa Murkowski, she, voted for the impeachment of Donald Trump. So we don't necessarily, or I guess I say we, I've considered myself a Republican for the longest time. But yeah, she's considered to be kind of a rhino. Right? Republican in name only. Like if she ran as a Democrat, she wouldn't make it. Right? She just wouldn't. Now, this is to provide relief for homeless families made homeless by COVID-19. I've got Section 3 DED. Little d, big D. Section 3, little d, big D is what I'm supposed to be looking at here. Right? So this is $800 million. And it's provide relief. And in terms of relief, it's like laundry services, food services, basically everything an individual kind of needs to keep like clean and stuff like that. And where am I at? Hold on. Section 3, Section 2, Section 3 with my little d. There's the little d, award basis, big D. Okay. Now, this is kind of what caught my eye here. The extent to which the application addresses the particular needs of pregnant women, pregnant and parenting youth, Indian or Native Hawaiian women, children under age 6, children with disabilities, families experiencing domestic violence, survivors of sexual assault or human trafficking. Well, this is the part that really kind of caught my eye, or historically marginalized and underserved communities of color. Right? So that's how you know she's really Republican in name only. Right? Because typically Republicans don't engage in this identity politics. Right? Because, well, we kind of think of everybody as Americans, and we want every community to kind of do well. We don't really look at it in terms of like, communities of color, because I mean, from the stories I've heard from people who like grew up in projects, there's like all kinds of people in there. There's, white people, Asian people, European people, like, I mean, like in terms of skin color, like all kinds of people. So for her to do this just really solidifies the fact that she's a Republican in name only for me. And if I can figure out how to use the image and video editor on Blender, then I will come up with a nice little meme of a rhino, like with a bunch of poo coming out of its butt, and her face kind of superimposed over the butt, right where like her mouth and the butthole kind of meet. So that way it'll look like just a bunch of rhino poo will be like pouring out of her mouth. And that's kind of something I'm got working on the side here. But 800 million doesn't seem like it would actually go all that far in terms of doing this stuff, but whatever. Distribution among types of communities. Okay, this is honestly the first time I saw this. Like I said, I started doing this right after I woke up, and I got so tired of looking at things. I saw so many offices getting created, and I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, get me through this. Plus, it was short. There wasn't as many bills on the website yesterday as there were the day prior, or the day before, and the day before that. There were tons of them on there on these other days, so there's less. So I was more excited to kind of get through. But anyway, let's just go ahead and read this. Not less than 10% of the funds available for grants under this section shall be awarded to family stabilization agencies that are Indian tribes, tribal organizations, or Native Hawaiian organizations serving youth, children, and families experiencing homelessness. All right, so not less, so at least 10% is going to Indian tribes, tribal organizations, and Native Hawaiian organizations. All right, at least 36% of the funds available for grants under this act shall be awarded to family stabilization serving predominantly rural areas. Right, so that's going to be, not your cities. Not less than 30%, so at least 30% of the funds available for grants under this act shall be awarded to family stabilization agencies serving predominantly suburban areas. That's your suburbia. And not more than 24% of the funds available for grants under this. Oh, sorry, there's a fire truck going by, and you just have to honk like right in front, which, more power to the firemen, get where they need to go. It is, well, it's not quite noon over here. There shouldn't be too many people on the road. I guess there was just enough. All right, so not more than 24% of the funds available for grants. So no more than 24%. Okay, shall be awarded to family stabilization agencies serving predominantly urban areas. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting, after I saw like Indian tribes and tribal organizations and Native Hawaiian organizations, I was expecting it to be like white communities, Hispanic communities, black communities. I was expecting that. That's what I was expecting. Because like, I wouldn't expect anything more from her. But, she surprised me. Rural areas, suburban areas, and urban areas. Of course, she is from Alaska, or at least she is serving Alaska, right? So, they don't have giant urban areas over there in Alaska. They don't really have massive suburban areas. They got pretty nice suburban areas. Mostly rural over there. Very nice country. Very nice part of the country. I've actually been up there. It was amazing because actually they do get a ton of sunlight some parts of the year. like a ton of it. So plants grow very well up there. I went on a cruise and I got to see like an orca whale with the weird horn. I got to see killer whales and seals and stuff. That was cool. I got to see like a salmon migration. My little brother just picked the salmon up out of the river and was like, "Look, I'm fishing." But yeah, and the appropriation is just 800 million. That's that. Lisa Murkowski. All right. Oh, we're almost done here. Only got a couple more. S226. Excuse me. Golly, dude. Why am I burping so much? Maybe I just need to drink some more water. Something like that. All right. I'm just talking pretty fast. All right. So Democrat. MN. Montana, Minnesota. I don't know where she's from. I really don't. But Amy Klobuchar. To expand protections for certain journalists. Oh, right. This is called the Jamal Khashoggi Press Freedom Accountability Act of 2021. All right. Oh, gosh. I mean, like, look, journalists, you become a journalist, you kind of understand that you're going to be exposing corruption. You're going to be exposing, the underbelly, nasty, gritty, disgusting parts of the world, right? You kind of, danger sort of comes with the job, right? At least that's how we used to view journalists. Maybe not these days. They're mostly activists, it seems, instead of journalists. But anyway, this is to protect journalists and other members of the press, right? Because they got to separate journalists from other members of the press, because a lot of the members of the press aren't actually journalists. From gross violations of internationally recognized human rights and for other purposes. And quite literally, it was only Klobuchar and Mr. Leahy. Now, what is it? Leahy is he's the guy who presided over the latest Trump impeachment, even though the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is supposed to do that job. And so you basically had a judge who was a witness and a juror and a prosecutor in that sense. So I mean, like, anyway. So I think what's interesting about this is, she's like, oh, Congress finds. Yeah, findings. We don't really care about findings. I'm not gonna lie. You can put whatever you want in findings. It can be a bunch of nonsense. It can be a bunch of facts. But whenever somebody puts findings up there, it's biased. Now, all right, it's expanding scope of human rights reports with respect to violations of internationally recognized human rights against journalists. Right. So what's interesting here is in subparagraph B, right, the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 is amended here. Right. What's interesting here is by striking direct physical attacks and all that follows through pressure and inserting the following. Gross violations of internationally recognized human rights as defined in section 502B. Direct physical attacks. Online harassment. Imprisonment. Indirect sources of pressure. Surveillance. So it's just like, okay, online harassment. You're a journalist. What the fuck you think's gonna happen? Like, I get the direct physical attacks, right? I get the the threats to someone's life kind of a thing. I get the imprisonment, but indirect sources of pressure, is that like putting pressure on their boss to put pressure on them? Because I mean, like, that's been happening. That's happened in America. So like, what are you doing? Acting like this is a foreign thing. Anyway, online harassment seems like, making a joke out of the whole thing, right? Because if you can't handle online harassment, then maybe you shouldn't be a journalist. I'm just saying. Now, okay, in subparagraph C, by striking ensure the prosecution and all that follows the end period, and inserting ensure the investigation, prosecution, and proper punishment of government officials or private individuals who engage in or facilitate murder, unlawful imprisonment, bodily harm, digital attacks, digital or physical attacks, right? And I guess the digital attacks includes hacking, censorship, surveillance, harassment against journalists and others who perform or provide administrative support, the dissemination of print, broadcast, internet-based, or social media intended to communicate facts or opinion. Right? It's just like, look, after direct physical attacks in this one, right? Online harassment. I guess that she literally just repeated it. This is literally just a repetition, except in a different section, it seems, in a different area. But it's just the same thing. Online harassment. I mean, that really kind of makes a joke out of the direct physical attacks. You know, somebody's shooting at you. You go back to your hotel room, then you get on Twitter and people are calling you dumb. You're not going to care about that. Somebody's shooting at you. Like, you probably got bigger problems on your hands than online harassment. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. It's just that as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is a joke. Well, I guess not as soon as I saw that. I guess as soon as I saw Amy Klobuchar's name associated with it, I was like, this is a joke. But the online harassment part and the digital attacks, right, I guess by digital attacks, you know, hacking's kind of serious. Censorship. Like, so are we policing other countries' journalists? Like, it's not like an American journalist goes someplace and, you know, comes back and they're trying to, like, censor that journalist in their country, but, like, they can't really censor that journalist in our country, right? Like, we're going to try to literally police journalism in other countries now? Oh, man, I can't do this. It's just like, oh my gosh, okay. In general, the president shall identify foreign persons that the president determines, based on credible information, have perpetrated, ordered, or otherwise directly or indirectly participated in the extrajudicial killing of or other gross violation of internationally recognized human rights committed against a journalist or other person who performs or provides administrative support to. The dissemination of print, broadcast, internet-based, or social media intended to report newsworthy activities or information or communicates facts or fact-based opinions. I'm sorry, I just can't take it seriously. I'm reading this thing and I'm like, look, okay, I'm reading it like, oh, the extrajudicial killing of, or the gross violation of, or other persons. I'm just, okay, I'm not, all right, now maybe it's a little more serious because I'm so done with the online harassment. Like, it just turned into a joke for me. I realize journalists have a tough job, right? That's journalism for you, though. You know, like exposing the corruption of the most powerful people in society. Like, yeah, that's gonna come with some life-threatening stuff there. But the reality is, like, being afraid of that stuff doesn't help your job, right? I mean, you're gonna have that fear, but you gotta need that courage in order to push through and put it out there. Because the one thing that like powerful people fear the most are fearless people, right? Like, someone who is fearless is somebody that other people are gonna fear because they don't understand it, right? They may sit there and be like, oh, that person's an idiot for not being afraid of me or something like that. But that fearlessness will go a very long way. It will do more to ensure your safety, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying fearless, you know, and be dumb about it. You know, it's one of those things you got to be, what's the word? It starts with a P. Not pertinent. Screw it. Anyway, asset blocking, visa admission or parole, like visas revoked, media effect, penalties. Like, she's putting this stuff. And I mean, as far as from what I've heard, this was all kind of based on Jamal Khashoggi. He seems to be more or less like a journalist and more like an activist, from what I've heard on my side of things. Right, and or not even like a activist, more like a propagandist is the word. Right. Should he have been killed? Probably not, but I don't know what else he was involved in. Right, and if she's throwing up a big tizzy over this, and she's only got Patrick Leahy on her side, it makes me think. Makes me think. But okay, yeah, this is something, just journalism here. But as you can see, as soon as I saw online harassment, I really tuned off to having any kind of sympathy for this bill. I just really did. Now the last one. S Resolution 68. Now this one actually makes sense to me from a legal perspective and mostly just a legal perspective, but from a logical perspective too, because this is expressing the sense that the Senate that the president should submit the Paris Agreement to the Senate for review and consideration. All right, now, excuse me, this one's very interesting because it starts off saying that in August 2016, President Obama entered the United States into the decision of the 21st Conference of Parties of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Paris, where they adopted December 12, 2015, like the Paris Agreement. He entered the United States into it without the advice and consent of the Senate, as required by Section 2 of Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States. Right? Whereas President Trump announced that the United States was going to cease implementation of the Paris Agreement in June 2017 and formally withdrew the United States from it in November 2019. And that withdrawal became effective November 2020. Right? Whereas according to a report, by 2035, the Paris Agreement will result in 1. An aggregate gross domestic product loss of over $2.5 trillion, a 13 to 20% increase in household electricity expenditures, and 3, the loss of hundreds of thousands of jobs. Now, this is a Republican bringing this forward. Right? This is Steve Daines, MT, Montana, Minnesota. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know what MT stands for. So, those are the 3 points that they're kind of doing. Now, this is a resolution. If this was any other like kind of bill, this would kind of be in the findings area, right? This would be under findings. Not gonna lie, right? Right. Another point here is the Paris Agreement, a cumbersome regulation associated with the Paris Agreement, put the economy of the United States at a competitive disadvantage and even greater job loss and energy rate increases at a time when the economy of the United States is already hurting from the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas, in addition to economic costs of the Paris Agreement, it obligates United States taxpayer dollars towards a $100 billion fund to assist climate change mitigation and adaptation in other countries with minimal oversight or transparency. Right, so just, ripe for corruption, rife with corruption, ripe for corruption. Oh my gosh, I'm almost done. Whereas, according to a report, if every signatory of the Paris Agreement fulfills their commitment, right? Their commitment under the Paris Agreement, the Paris Agreement will have a negligible impact on climate change, reducing global average temperatures by just 0.086 degrees Fahrenheit by 2100. Or commitment under the Paris Agreement, if the Paris Agreement were extended another 70 years, average global temperatures would be reduced by just 0.306 degrees Fahrenheit by 2100. Whereas through free market innovation and investments in clean, efficient energy, the United States has seen the largest absolute decline in emissions globally, while emissions from several signatories of the Paris Agreement continue to increase. Whereas Clause 2 of Section 2 of Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States provides that the President may only enter into a treaty provided 2/3 of the senators present concur. Whereas Section 723.3 of Chapter 11 of the Foreign Affairs Manual of the Department of State provides that, in determining whether an international agreement should be brought into force as a treaty or as an international agreement other than a treaty, the utmost care is to be exercised to avoid any invasion or compromise of the constitutional powers of the Senate, Congress as a whole, or the President. Where was it? All right. Whereas, given the historical precedents, the potential costs and benefits, and the fact that the Paris Agreement could, in future decades, result in stronger obligations for the United States than the Senate anticipated when it gave its consent ratifying the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, done at New York, May 9, 1992, and entered into force March 21, 1994, the Paris Agreement is a treaty. And whereas on January 20th, 2021, President Biden announced his intent to re-enter the United States into the Paris Agreement without seeking the advice and consent of the Senate. Now, therefore, be it resolved that it is the sense of the Senate that, 1. The decision of the 21st Conference of Parties of the United States Framework Convention on Climate Change in Paris, France, adopted December 12, 2015, is considered a treaty requiring the advice and consent of the Senate. And 2, President Biden should immediately submit the Paris Agreement to the Senate. Now, okay, I guess the question here is, if the Senate had given its okay when Obama entered us in, which apparently the Senate didn't, right? Because Obama entered us into this, which they are considering it to be a treaty, without the advice and consent of the Senate, as required by the Constitution, then if Biden's trying to put us back into it, right, he kind of needs the consent of the Senate. If he doesn't get the consent of the Senate, 2/3 of the Senate, then it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. And I mean, heck, would that, qualify as a reason for impeachment? Maybe, maybe not. To be perfectly honest, I don't want to impeach Biden because then, what would it be? It would be Kamala Harris as president. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, that wouldn't be much better. That wouldn't be much better. It's got nothing to do with the fact of like her skin color or her fact she's a woman. It's got everything to do with the fact that she looks like she's crazy. The way she cackles at things, the way she answers questions, the way she doesn't answer questions. Like, you think these people are fit for office? That's funny, in my opinion. Right? All right. Now, just want to touch on the last thing from yesterday that was introduced that is of pretty significant importance. It's HR 1319. Brought to us by a Democrat out of Kentucky by the name of John Yarmuth, also known as the American Rescue Plan. Now this, I said at the beginning, and I said it, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. This requires a stream by itself. And you will see what I mean in a second when I pull up the text. See this little bar up here? It's usually if it's 4 times that size, it's long, right? So this, as you can see here, just table of contents is already more than 2 pages, more than 3 pages, about 4 pages. Food supply chain and agriculture pandemic response. This is Title 1, Committee on Agriculture, subtitle, Agriculture. But as you can see, yeah, this is a meaty monster. All right, this is gonna require its whole own separate stream. And so, I mean, I was thinking that after I did this stream, I would go ahead and read through this and prepare for the next one. But I'll have to give it a few more hours. I'm gonna need to take a slight little break. But anyway, that's what's on the table. That's what's on the agenda for the next stream. I'm gonna have to go through and read this whole fucking thing. Anyway, that's this. This has been that. If you enjoyed this, if you'd like more of this, be sure to follow. I'm actually, kind of excited about the amount of engagement I got on the last stream. Not during the stream, because I got it, I don't know. I didn't get much in terms of chats and whatnot. But I did have like 16 views, which, compared to the usual 1 view I get on my League of Legends streams, it's, my gaming streams and get nothing really compared to this. So this was actually something kind of nice. It is, actual work. And it's good because I get more knowledge on kind of what's going on. I get more familiarity with what kind of bills are being passed. I get more familiarity with the individuals trying to introduce these bills or the people introducing these bills. Because anybody can introduce a bill. But, yeah. This has been that, and that's been this. I actually kind of enjoyed saying that. All right. Thanks for following. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you next time. I'm glad I was able to keep this below 2 hours. This is going to be uploaded to YouTube, and if you're watching it from YouTube, go ahead and follow me on Twitch. I'm Rick You Always on YouTube and Twitch. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.